Welcome to the Scandinavian Mind podcast, our weekly show about the intersection of lifestyle and technology. Today on the program, a special report from Copenhagen Fashion Week. We will talk about our talks program at CIFF, what's happening at the shows, including a report from Revolver trade show. And we'll hear from some of the most influential people in the industry, including Bruce Pask, men's fashion director at Neiman Marcus and Bergdorf Goodman, and Sofie Dolva, the new director of CIFF. I'm Konrad Olsson, editor-in-chief and founder of Scandinavian Mind, and I'm here from Copenhagen recording with my dear colleague Johan Magnusson, our senior editor. How are you, Johan?
I'm good. It's been a very long day, but full of impressions and inspiration.
I'll say we are at the end of the second day at CIFF. We are recording from our respective hotel rooms, and we're also at the second day of the Scandinavian Mind Talks program at CIFF, which is a collaboration with Copenhagen International Fashion Fairs. I moderated 5 talks today, so I'm a bit toast in the head, but it's been very inspiring and rewarding to do this. I would say the turnout at the talks has been over my expectations, and I gotta say, maybe the best one was with you today, my friend.
Yeah, you say that?
What we're talking about is that we today gave a preview of an upcoming report called The State of Beauty Innovation that Johan, has been working on for quite some time. And we did a good 30 minutes on the 5 most important trends within beauty innovation right now. The feedback from the audience and the industry people that we met was really positive. What do you feel after doing your first big appearance with regards to this beauty report?
Yeah, a lot of impressions, and just like you're saying, what's the most memorable was perhaps the feedback afterwards. People you met,
Mm.
people that approach us after the presentation, and also when you've been working with something for since like November, then it's of course a huge. I don't know if relief is the right word, but it feels very rewarding when you get such good feedback afterwards.
Well, we're gonna not to plug ourselves too much, but we are very proud of the work that we've done, and this will be released in this podcast feed, and we'll probably do a separate video uh, um, publication of this keynote. Uh, I think my biggest takeaway of this is, and it's very interesting to be at CIFF. They're doing this sort of show of beauty brands for the first time. There is a need to talk about innovation. There's a need to talk about sustainability in the beauty industry, and that's why we have launched this beauty innovation project within Scandinavian Mind, and that's a takeaway from me because I really feel like we are onto something, and the industry is really responding to it.
Couldn't say it better myself.
All right, so we've been running around on. I mean, I've been mostly at CIFF, to be honest, but you have been running around on some of the shows and some of the other trade shows, and we also have our dear colleague Oliver Dahle. He's been mostly on the shows, some of the nice dinners as well that I couldn't go to. You've been speaking to Oliver. What's his impression of the fashion shows?
What he says to me is that it's a great energy, huge crowds
Yeah.
at the fashion shows, and also the fact that it seems like, of course, it's important what you're showing on the runway, but almost equally important is that you find the the coolest venue. I don't know if the brands would have agreed on this, but that was his major impression, I would say.
Yeah, but it goes to this notion of I feel like Fashion Week is back in a way, and definitely the trade shows are back. CIFF is bigger than ever, and with all the talks of their merging with Revolver, and everyone, you've been to Revolver, but it's my sense that people enjoy being together, and with that, I think it's good that they're aiming to find cool locations and make an experience out of the shows. If they're having physical shows, they might as well be entertaining.
Yeah, sure. And just what you mentioned, perhaps it's room for an explanation. We saw a reporting now, or it was announced the other week that CIFF and Revolver will join forces and be not competitors, but work together as one company. Yeah, the two leading trade fairs in
Yeah,
Copenhagen. Yeah.
it's been a rumor that's been going on in the industry for quite some time. and now it's official. We will hear the new director at CIFF, Sofie Dolva, talk about this at the end of the show. It's a little bit of a longer conversation I had with her, so we'll wait with that to the end of the show. Well worth waiting for. But until then, we're going to get into some of the other impressions from around Fashion Week. And you've been walking around interviewing people that we met. And let's begin with listening to our dear friend Bruce Pask, the men's fashion director of Neiman Marcus and Bergdorf Goodman in the US, of course. Talk about where you met Bruce.
So we met right outside the Alpha show, and Alpha used to be
Hmm.
called Designer's Nest until like a year ago,
Right.
before they rebranded. And it's a talent incubator they have one show per year with selected Nordic graduates from the leading fashion schools.
Yeah, and we had the director of Alpha, Arne Lyngjolén, was part of the transformation conference in Helsinki last year, which we held. And I gotta say, she's such a force. The way she does this with such enthusiasm, and I know it's hard to get funding for these shows for these young talents. A big shout out to the work that she's doing.
Yeah, and this edition was spectacular. I haven't been to all of the shows over the years, so I can't say it was the best one, but
Mm.
I would have liked to see the version of the Alpha that would have been better, because that one would have been really, really good, because this was on such a high level. And also, again, as we know, the Finns was taking over. So a Finnish designer was announced the winner, Tuuli Tytti Koivula, with a spectacular collection.
All right, and you also had a chance to speak to Bruce Pask. Bruce is obviously one of the most influential people in the fashion industry, definitely menswear. We have been doing interviews and some projects with him in the past. I had a chance to meet him briefly on the floor of CIFF today. It's really, really, really fun to see Bruce back in Copenhagen. I know he's a big fan of the city. Let's hear what Bruce had to say.
I'm Bruce Pask. I'm the Senior Men's Fashion Director for Bergdorf Goodman and Neiman Marcus. I am here in Copenhagen. I got here yesterday, and I have been lucky enough and fortunate enough to be attending the trade shows CIFF and Revolver and Copenhagen Fashion Week for the past few seasons and years. We are out at the Bella Center right now getting ready to go into the Alpha show, and it's day one of Copenhagen Fashion Week.
And what are your expectations for the week?
I'm here, as always, with a big, curious mind, and I am looking forward to seeing emerging brands I may not know about, brands that I've started following and seeing their development. It's the first season that I know that Cecilia and the Copenhagen Fashion Week team have been working on for 3 years for that all the brands participating in this Fashion Week will adhere to 18 sustainable and thoughtfully produced standards, which I think is really incredible. This is the first season that all brands participating are going to be adhering to these sustainable standards. So I think it's amazing, and it really differentiates Copenhagen as being at the forefront of fashion as well as thoughtful and sustainable production. I think they've done an amazing job in really overseeing that and recognizing the importance of that.
Would you say that this is what makes this Fashion Week stands out compared to its competitors, or is it new voices or new brands? Or
yeah, I think there's a number of things. I think we all appreciate the very kind of famous kind of Scandinavian sensibility, like thoughtfully made, a very spare and kind of pure design. But I do think that we have looked to Copenhagen for driving the efforts with sustainability and thoughtful production in the runway presentations. So I think it's all of it. We're definitely here to see new brands and new designers, emerging brands. But I think the fact that sustainability is a big component of that is, I think, just another aspect that's terrific.
Is it also increasingly important for you in the retail sector with this sustainability focus, I assume?
Absolutely. I mean, I think Neiman Marcus Group certainly is very, very much moving strongly forward with ESG initiatives, sustainable issues, thoughtful production, also the values that go along with that. Our company sort of ethos is leading with love, and I think a lot of that is about loving our neighbors, loving humanity, loving this earth, and finding better ways to live in it and to support it and to sustain it. So it's a really important directive for us as a company.
And final question, are you also able to address this to the end consumer, the importance or what makes Nordic fashion brands stands out with this more conscious production and fabrics? Is it something that the end consumer do care about?
I think it's certainly a component of what people care about, absolutely. And I think the consumer is more interested in that, better educated about it with all the information that's been out there. I think circularity in fashion is becoming a concern and an aspect of what people consider when they're buying fashion, for sure. And what I love about here is, this is just one component of the brands. It's not the defining component of brands, because we also have creativity, imagination, new development, and then circularity in fashion is just one more component of the brand. So it isn't necessarily what is leading them, and I think we can look forward to a day when thoughtful production and circularity in fashion is just going to be one more aspect of fashion that is a given.
Let's hope. Thank you.
All right, that was Bruce Pask, men's fashion director of Neiman Marcus and Bergdorf Goodman. Are there any other impressions or details from the Alpha show that we should mention, Johan?
Perhaps not from the Alpha show. It was overall very high level, but speaking of that, what's more and more strikes you when you're going here to Copenhagen Fashion Week is the great mix of very, very established and very, very cool brands, but also the new names, the new voices. They are really good at supporting new names and new talents, and put them on the official schedule, find sponsors for them or partnerships. Last season was the first edition of a special showroom with the selected new designers called the New Talent, and which will return next season. And I've been to the Zalando Sustainability Award shows with 3 other emerging designers highlighting sustainability, and it's a great mix of the big players that's been around for, actually this year, both Woodwood and Soland, they are celebrating their 20 years. They're celebrating 20 years. Norse Projects, another leading Danish brand, not participating here, but they are celebrating 20 years next year. So, and also the new names coming. And Oliver, our colleague in particular mentioned PLN, a name to watch. And
PLN.
And we also have Tobias Birk Nielsen with the Isopoetism, who won Zalando Sustainability Award last season. And he was the prize included a spot at the official schedule this season. So that's also good that you follow up with across the seasons, that it's not only for one season or 2 seasons, that they get support for several seasons or several years.
Well, they're doing a great job putting together this show, and Copenhagen Fashion Week has, especially in the advent of the official, the closure of Stockholm Fashion Week, it really is the platform for Nordic fashion right now. Part of this is because there is such a good collaboration with the trade shows that are going on, and you had a chance to visit the Revolver trade show as well. What were your impressions from the Revolver show this year?
A lot of positivism and great atmosphere. A lot of brands, not a lot of visitors, because they have their most crowded or busy day the second day on Thursday. But a decent amount of visitors, a great selection of brands, very well curated. They have a certain focus on contemporary Nordic menswear and womenswear. And the spectacular installation right in the middle of the spectacular trade fair hall with Marimekko, who returned to the trade fairs with a huge installation highlighting their iconic prints.
Good stuff. And you also had the chance to speak to a few of the people on the floor. We're going to hear now from Kent Rau Madsen, the founder of Garment Project. Why did you decide to speak to Kent?
So he's a very, very nice guy and a true entrepreneur, but not like a sales guy at all. He's very humble, and he lets the products speak for themselves. And he started 10 years ago with a small range of footwear. Those you've all seen it, probably the style of it, like the dressed sneaker. And now it's a big range of footwear, and the first season this coming fall with a full line of garments.
All right, so here now Kent Rau Madsen, the founder of Garment Project.
Hi, this is Kent from Garment Project. We're at the Revolver in Forum, and we talk a little bit about the fair and how things have been evolving the last many years. This is my 10th year at the fair, so we're looking forward, and hopefully it's going to be a good one.
And how are your feelings for this week?
We have a good feeling about this week. We're finally back after Corona, like 110%. A lot of Scandinavian brands is showing, and have a good feeling about it. Even though things are tough right now, I feel a certain positivity in general regarding the future. So it's we have high expectations.
And how important is Revolver and the trade fairs and Copenhagen Fashion Week for Copenhagen as a meeting place and destination?
I think it's really important for the Scandinavian fashion scene that we have the fairs here in Copenhagen, and also for us as a brand. It's always good. We're not a big brand; we're a smaller brand. Even though we've been there for 10 years, I think it's a really good place to meet, and we get a lot of attention from all over the world. Overseas and everything. So it's really, I think it's good for Scandinavia. It's good for the Scandinavian fashion scene.
Is a trade fair still a relevant place to be for you as a brand? If we're talking brand building, or will we see other formats in the future?
I think it's important for a brand like ours, because we get to show what we really can in many ways, and if we don't have the power to draw some of the big buyers to a showroom in Paris or Milan or whatever, it's a good way to show everything. But I see the fashion scene developing into being much more focused on Paris showrooms, Milan showrooms, but for sure I feel this is still relevant, definitely.
And tell us more about what we see here. I assume fall/winter 23 and carryovers, and also garments. I know you as a shoe brand, but now it's garments as well. Can you tell us what we see?
Yeah, this is autumn/winter 23, and for sure we are strong on footwear, both men's and women's. But during the last 5-6 seasons, we have been developing our clothing line, which is focused on men's, but it is also unisex. All our styles is starting from extra small to extra large, and we see the fashion scene right now is you see a lot of women's wearing menswear and the other way around, actually. So it's more like a unisex universe in many ways. And this is the first time we present the full clothing collection with outerwear, knitwear, pants, t-shirts, sweatshirts, and it's the first collection with our new designer. She started 8 months ago, so this is like the first collection that she's 100% involved in. So that's also really exciting for us.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, That was Kent Rao Madsen, founder of Garment Project. We're now also going to hear from Vasim Ahmad, the sales director and partner of Vernon Sport, which is one of the largest distributors of sportswear, right?
Yeah, a distributor and also sportswear agency with a great mix of quite established brands. But also what's interesting with them is that they have such a good eye on which brands will become the next big hit here in the Nordics. And he's such a profile, and they used to have huge parties every season on a Thursday night. So yeah, he's an industry name to count on.
All right, let's listen to Vasim Ahmad.
And what do you feel about Revolver and this edition and Copenhagen Fashion Week?
I think it's nice. I think there's a vibe. We've been a little bit scared about the whole world situation, economy, and so on. But so far, we are quite surprised about the energy here. It's the first day. Normally, second day is much better. But already now, we are quite satisfied.
And you followed, I've seen you at the trade fairs for like 10, 15 years. And how has it changed over the years?
I think it's I don't know how it's changed. I think it's still the same. We are still showing the same way. I think the people have become more professional buyers, where before it was a lot about feelings, connections, and so on. But now people are buying more professionally because they have numbers, they have a system in their shop. So when they come, they have a budget. We never worked with budgets. 10 years ago, nobody had a budget for us.
Is a trade fair like this still a relevant platform for you and the brands and the buyers and the visitors?
Yes, for sure. For a company like Vernon, it's very important because we are a distributor, so we have to show the brands. And there are so many local shops who does not go to PT or go to Berlin or New York, and people are saving costs. So for our market, which is the Scandic, it's very important.
And finally, if you would wish one thing from the buyer to get more of, what would that be?
Ooh, that is dangerous. No, I actually think the buyers are... we have a good relationship with the buyers. We can't really complain. They come by. 10 years ago, they would be hiding behind, other brands and so on. Today, I think they're all polite. They know one season we might have a brand, next year we don't have a brand, but we always bring something back, and that goes on for everybody. So it's like a big family. Yeah.
Thank you.
That was Vasim Ahmad, sales director and partner at Vernon Sport. Let's move on from Revolver to CIFF. And I think one of the biggest changes in the industry right now is the fact that CIFF has merged with Revolver and will, maybe not for this season so much, but in the upcoming seasons, we'll see some of these dramatic changes. I had the chance to sit down earlier this evening, actually, just a couple of hours before we record this on Thursday evening, with Sofie Dolva, the new director at CIFF. She just seems like a show of force. She has done so much positive things already in the industry. And the fact that she managed to close this deal with Revolver is, I think, very impressive. This has been in the works and it's been talked about. It's been rumored for a very, very long time. And there are many rumors and talks within the industry to why that is. It seems like collaborating with these two trade shows hasn't been the most easiest feat earlier in the industry's history, but now obviously it's the time. So I sat down with Sofie to talk about this and the overall impressions of the CIFF trade show so far this year. So here now, my conversation with Sofie Dolva, director at CIFF. All right, now, so I'm here with Sofie Dolva, director of CIFF. We're coming up on the end of the second day here at CIFF. it's your first kind of real show, so I'm just, perhaps starts with the sports question. How do you feel now when the show is way up and going?
I feel really excited, relieved, also a bit tired, but I think I'm filled with positive energy because I see that all the plans we've been working so intense and hard towards are really, paying off. I think it's good to see the positivity and energy amongst people in these times. I think people are also a bit anxious about that. And we have had some new initiatives for this edition, which has also been like 50-50 how people were reacting to it before seeing it. And I'm just super happy that it seemed like people are really enjoying it.
Right. So, I think in many ways this is the kind of first real edition since after the pandemic, because back in last summer when that was scheduled, at least people were still kind of feeling the pandemic, and there's been this discussion around the relevance of trade shows and fashion weeks, even way before the pandemic as well. So, how do you feel now? Are we on a positive trajectory with these kind of gatherings?
Yes, I think absolutely. I think we see it both in the registration, the buyers attending from around the world, by the trade here. I think we really got it confirmed for this season that it's still relevant. And we see, more brands coming back to the trade fairs. So it looks positive.
Good to hear. Talk about some of the new initiatives that you've done here. For instance, you have this beauty section. Why did you decide to go into this?
I think I saw a golden opportunity because many of the retailers that were coming here previously, they are expanding into beauty and lifestyle. I think you also see a lot of fashion brands, expanding into other categories other than garments. And fashion people love beauty, and beauty people love fashion. So I think it's there's a nice synergy. So I chose to curate some Nordic beauty products, but where the synergy is that they have international potential to scale up, and it's products that you would find in these retailers, so not like salon brands. Also being really aesthetic, and all of them are also thinking about the environment, thinking about the whole circular ingredient process.
And can you mention some other initiatives or events that have been happening here that you're specifically proud of or happy with?
Yeah, I am really proud and happy about our own production for our own fashion show on Monday. So we opened up the fashion week by having what we call the CIFF Fashion Experience. I think some might remember the trend shows back in the days. We just took it to the next level. So we had a big show in Bella Arena with 1,200 people, where we're showing 40 different brands to show the diversity within fashion, showing kids brands, women's and men, from the more commercial brands to some more contemporary to some of the brands that are actually also on the show schedule. And it was see now, buy now. So that kickstarted the week, and that was just amazing. People were so happy. It was amazing production. And then one of the other things we've also initiated was the consumer event with Elle, the Danish Elle, to create more brand awareness for some of the Danish brands we have here. So we actually just had that, and we had a little under 200 super fans attending, where they could meet the designers, see the collection, and hear a bit more about their brand journey.
I have a history of collaborating with fashion trade shows since many years now. I've actually been an advocate for trade shows as the kind of center of the industry, and especially when media is becoming more and more fragmented. Kind of the big magazines, which used to be kind of the center of the industry, aren't anymore in a way. So I think there's a big opportunity in trade shows. At the same time, the format has been discussed and even criticized the last few years. Definitely during the pandemic, of course, but even before that, because it's a very traditional format. It's, dates back to, whenever, where you have to gather in these giant halls to meet each other. What can CIFF do to play a bigger role in the industry? Perhaps outside of the trade show. I'm sure you're thinking a lot about this.
Yeah, I think you need to stay agile and adapt, and think a bit outside the box. And of course, our core is the trade. But I think you also have a huge potential to do more to, for instance, build the brand awareness, to think more commercially throughout the days. What we try to aim at is to have the community outside of those weeks, because it's only twice a year. So what we have tried to do already to test it off is to try and have some smaller events where we actually group people, where there are some synergies, to try and build a actual community and not just using the word. So it could be like a brand's having issues with expanding into Germany, but having a success in Australia, and then we know that there's another brand having a success in Germany, and then we've tried to put them together to really share and use each other as colleagues instead of competitors. And we want to do much more of that. And then I think also we have so many great partners that are educators, experts within the different fields, and I think we can be the facilitator to bring them in and really, help them. It could be like on, the sustainability requirements, where you have a lot of smaller brands that don't have the resources and the know-how. They want to, of course, be more sustainable, but they simply don't have the time or the resources. So I think we can do a job in helping them outside of the trade fair.
All right, last question. Looking ahead, beyond this show, I'm curious to hear what you got in store for upcoming shows, collaborations. It was just announced before the show started that you're merging with Revolver. Can you reveal anything of what's in store for rest of 2023?
Yes. So we're super happy to finally announce that we're merging with Revolver. So we'll be one combined organization just after Fashion Week. So the team will move in. So what we're working against now or towards is to actually have CIFF times Revolver gathered at one place here at Bella, to optimize, for the buyers and the brands, having one, key venue instead of four. And then we're working on a new concept for Øksnehallen. So we have a city location, and then we have the CIFF times Revolver as you know it, but in one place.
All right, exciting stuff. Sofie Dolva, Director of CIFF, congratulations on a great show, and thank you for inviting us to collaborate with you.
Thank you for coming.
All right, that was Sofie Dolva, the director at CIFF. Exciting stuff waiting ahead in the Danish capital of Copenhagen and in the Scandinavian fashion industry. Johan, I gotta say, it's been a really interesting being in Copenhagen this year. I really feel like the industry is back in full swing. I'm very optimistic, and also, again, very happy about the talks program that we've been setting up at CIFF. Any closing words, any parting observations that we should mention before we end this?
Yeah, like mentioned in the interviews by the interview objects, it's becoming more and more obvious for every season how much of a gathering point for Scandinavian fashion that Copenhagen has become and will continue to be indefinitely. For the coming years at least. Not only with the merging between CIFF and Revolver, but also the great sustainability work. Actually, to some extent, like world leading the sustainability work by the Fashion Week organization with certain sustainability requirements that is now that was announced like 3 years ago. That is now put into action. So the brands on the official schedule now have to meet up with certain standards in order to be able to show.
Absolutely. But before that, this is not the last we'll hear from CIFF and Copenhagen Fashion Week. In this feed, we have so much content recorded on the talk stage at CIFF. It's going to be at least a handful, maybe up to 8 or 10 episodes we'll be releasing in the upcoming weeks, talking about everything from retail tech to, of course, beauty innovation, which was today all about. And tomorrow I'm hosting the transformation talks with some of our friends from Finland. We're doing kind of an offshoot of our transformation conference here at CIFF with, among them, Spinova and our good friends, the Finnish designers, Erwin Lattemer and Rolf Ekrot, present in the talk. So
I just have to say, like, every season after Copenhagen Fashion Week, what you used to say when you go back home is that how tired you are of your own voice. And I can just imagine for you that same feeling after 5 panel talks today. It's out of this world, and now 1 podcast.
Well, thankfully, I'm only asking questions, so I'm not speaking. I mean, I think you did much more speaking than I did in today's show. But so, no, definitely, it's been intense doing this, but I love it. It's so fun. I get so much energy from the audience and the industry, and that's why we're doing this. We really love being part of this industry. So stay tuned for that. This has been a Scandinavian Mind, a special edition podcast recorded here from Copenhagen Fashion Week. Don't forget to sign up to our newsletter. Visit scandinavianmind.com/newsletter not to miss out on any of the upcoming content, including our upcoming State of Beauty Innovation Report. Until next time, thank you, Johan.
Thank you.